You better wake up and pay attention.
Come on, make me believe what you're saying.
If you wanna be somebody, if you wanna go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. If you wanna be somebody, if you wanna go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention.
Wait a minute, wait a minute,
What's
wait
going on, everybody,
a minute.
man?
Talk
We
about
here.
a wake-up call.
Free Game, the
Where did this
podcast.
come from?
What's up, bro?
It's your boy DJ Original, man. It's early morning, man, but my energy's high. We day 2 strong. We stayed committed. We stayed down 2 days strong. How was your workout, man?
Facts. My workout was pretty nice. I've been consistent for the most part of getting my my abdomen right. You know what I'm saying, and doing a little bit of more cardio. So, you know, I've been chilling, man, just staying consistent. You know, I actually, when I was running today, and sorry, I'm under the weather a little bit. You know, it's not about how much you weigh. I mean, not how much you weigh. I'm sorry. It's not about how much you lift. It's how many times you can lift it.
Real talk.
You know what I'm saying? So you can go in there acting like you super buff, and I mean, I ain't that skinny. You know what I'm saying? I can lift some, but you know, it's about repetition. It's about how many times you get that thing up off you. You know what I'm saying? So that's really it, man. You worked out today?
I did not work out, but I did get up on time. I did read. I did get my studio in order. And for me, really, it's about just developing the habit. Like, I know I go hard in the gym when I go in there, so that's not really my focus. My focus is all on getting up. And I mean, I guess this goes to show exactly why we doing this again, man. This show, coming with this show, was getting up early on the 1% club note, trying to get up and change some habits that we naturally have in our life. So for me, it was just developing this habit of 5 a.m., 4 a.m., no later than 6 a.m. for sure. That's just gym number 1 for y'all today in this show.
But I mean, it ain't always about, you know what I'm saying. Even though people do work out in the morning, it's not necessarily about like it's the routine in it, right? So it's in the routine of getting up before everybody else is up. The reason why the highways never have traffic in the morning is because nobody's on them. So like at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, if you up before everybody else, you know what I'm saying? Regardless if you working out, reading, you know, you just getting a step ahead of everybody else, you know. So that book or whatever you reading that you couldn't do throughout your day, your normal day, you did it in the morning, you know what I'm saying? So it's really about the routine aspect of it. So I don't, you know, I'm working out, but I don't want people to feel like, oh, just because you're working out, like, it's not about working out. It's you can do a lot of things in the morning prior to your day getting started. But we here today, man. Episode 2.
Episode 2, man. They really don't know what's coming to them, because if y'all tuned in like early, you know, obviously some of y'all already know us, so you know a lot of this is gonna be repetitive. But y'all gotta realize, look, we about to hit y'all once a week, so we really just hope y'all tuned in. Let them know what the free game is today, pal.
Hey, man, free game today is all about childhood, right? This is our first pillar of the Monopoly board, or the free game, the podcast board, as we're going to, you know, actually get one made, you know, probably actually
I'm going to show them the little image. We're going to...
Yeah, but today is the first childhood pillar, which is, you know, basically what we're going to discuss is, you know, a lot of the routine, the characteristics, the things that you develop in your adulthood comes a lot from your childhood. And so what we're going to discuss today is mainly about what were some of the key concepts of your childhood, what separated you from others, why did you choose to do certain things, and kind of expound upon the little gems that we developed at a small age that developed you into who you are today. So, you know, the childhood piece is very important, right? Because the only time actually a parent gets to identify what they raised was when they are on their own, right? So when you're on your own, it really is going to signify what your childhood was like, how were you trained, disciplined, etc. So, you know, that's what we're going to discuss today. You want to dive into a little bit of your childhood first, or how?
Yeah, and for me, before we get into that, because I do want to make sure that y'all take something away. Again, this is free game, so I want to make sure that y'all leave with something. For me, the reason why we even pay a homage to the childhood is because I think a lot of you guys have to dive back into some of the habits that you might have picked up back, good or bad, from when you were a child.
Yeah,
you know, some of the environmental factors, you know, where you come from. I know Cal was actually raised in Detroit for, you know, part of his adolescence. me in Long Beach, California, and now, you know, as adults, you know what I mean? We got to be able to bridge the gap, and sometimes, like somebody told me, we got to be able to unlearn some of the things and relearn some of the things that we might have thought we already had mastered, or maybe some of the things that have, you know, our habits in a poor way. But
that's important.
I'd say to start, man, the biggest thing that stands out to me is my childhood. I was actually one of 4 siblings. Coming up in California, man, not only is it super expensive to live there, and you know everybody's living for the dream, but I had 4 siblings.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about, you know what I mean, the shoe game wasn't always as good as it was now. You know what I mean? We was getting leftover food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were getting whoopings for stuff my sister did that I didn't do. So, you know, I had to learn a lot of sibling type of tactics, which then eventually became me being an only child, kind of like you in your life, Cal, because I think that's kind of where we got along a lot is, you know, being an only child comes with a whole lot of different other components that are very important.
Facts. And I mean, for me, you know, like you spouted upon, it's really difficult because, you know, actually I just identified that I had an actual sister that was actually older than me.
Really? How long ago was this?
This was, man, probably about 5-6 years ago. You know, my dad called me and was just like, you know, you got a sister, she's older than you. And what's funny is because, you know, as you get older, you start to understand the concept of life. Like,
For sure.
I you know, I get it. I may not, you know, agree with how you telling me, but I understand it better now. But I didn't really, you know, my sisters per se were my cousins. I was the only child from my mom. So my cousins, Marissa, Abby, those are really like my sisters growing up. My cousins in Detroit, Ahmad, rest in peace, Ahmad, Malik, Justin, those were kind of like my brothers. So those were the, you know what I'm saying, the rough aspects of it all. When I'm in Detroit, that's my little rough group. But for the most part, you know, my upbringing was more so just, you know, separation. You know, like the idea that my mom stressed to me that I was a black man in America and that, you know, it was important for me to believe in myself versus, you know, having other people's, you know, perspective of me and caring about what other people thought of me. So a lot of my childhood upbringing was more so just reflecting on separation, you know, being able to cut off people that didn't really, you know, if somebody were going left, I don't mind going right by myself, you know. And I've always told myself, and I'm pretty sure it's a quote somewhere, you know, a man is defined by what he can do alone, not in a group. You know, it takes a man to be alone and separate himself and stand on his own versus going with a group of people. And I've never been that type, so you know that's kind of, I will talk about more of that, but that's kind of really what I would grasp from my childhood on that, what I've taken into my adulthood for the most part.
And how I really kind of want to wrap that back in, I guess I'll start is I kind of want you to pick a couple things that really stood out about your childhood that's kind of molded the way that you are today. Mm-hmm. Like for me, I think what I can say that's always been clear for me in my childhood, I've always been very clean, very neat. Like, I just, you know, not even a slight plug, I'm a very clean person. Like, I've always, for instance, when I was living in California, y'all know how it is. We had a 3-bedroom house. Mom and Pop got the master suite. Yeah. 2 oldest kids got the rooms. Yeah. You get whatever's left when you're a baby. I'm just being real. I had a little loft on the way up to the staircase. There was a loft to the left before you, and literally they blocked mine off like it was a little joint in New York or something. Yeah. But the truth is I learned how to operate in my space. Yeah. My space was always the most cleanest in the house. Yeah. And my mom and my dad always respected that about me. So like looking back, I realized that those are one of the things that, you know, I could always take away. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I'll probably say was a bad thing, and my mom always, it's funny how your parents will always hit you on the button on what you're not accountable for. Yeah. Like when I was younger, and it might be because I didn't have a lot, but I used to take things that weren't mine. Because I was the youngest, I had to get my brother's shoes coming down. I got caught stealing some stuff from Walmart. Yeah. And my mom and my dad sent me back to return it. I think every child went through that. But my mom always told me, she said, now remember, baby, don't be taking stuff that ain't yours. you know that I have to remember some of these things going
Yeah.
forward in the future on, you know, things that I got to unlearn and habits that might have been created at a much younger level that are affecting the adult Ron.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would just say I always wanted, because, you know, being the only child, there's a perspective that you're spoiled or everything is done for you and you don't really do too much. So for me, I guess it was funny, like kind of what you said, you know, all the men in my life in terms of like my dad or my mentors that I've developed growing up was always on, you know, get your mama's titty out your mouth, right?
Oh,
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
facts,
for me,
facts.
I was just like, bro, like, you know, a lot of people get this misconception, like just because you are the only child, you know, you develop this type of spoiled rottenness, right? And I would just say that for me, what I've taken from my childhood in terms of developing, being the only child or whatever from my mom, was just hard work ethic. Like, you know, like I said in my post a couple of months ago, like, I was never the best basketball player, but you're not going to outwork me in terms of my position on the floor, in terms of my work ethic. Seeing my mama work, going to my grandma's house, seeing my mama get off at 5:30, making sure I was good, doing everything that I needed to do to make sure I was straight. I mean, I took that and developed that into my own thing. If nobody else going to do it for you, you do it yourself. And I mean, I think that's something that I've definitely taken from my childhood in terms of, you know, I'm neat as well, right? But, you know, as far as my side,
For sure.
I would just say like work ethic for me is kind of what I definitely have a strong hold on regarding my childhood. And again, this is, like I said, a small segment in terms of our gems to you for, you know, if indeed, and this, like I said, we might be talking to adults right now, right? But more so, we're going to have our target audience be kids, high school kids, middle school kids. And these things that we're talking about, some things you could practice, you know what I'm saying? Like just work ethic, you know, separation, self-assessment. Like things like that is some of the things that you could take from, you know, these characteristics that you had when you were younger and develop them when you're older. So, you know, what else are you thinking, you know, in terms of a gem that you would say is a takeaway from your childhood to your adulthood that is kind of actually, you know.
For me, it's very simple, people. And really, our free game is going to be simple. So, you know, if you're looking for stuff deep, I guess we'll have those deeper convos. We got books and other things, concepts we'll share. But today, I'm simple. It's self-assessment.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have a lot of other shows where we talk about this. Because think about, you know, women. Think about grown men. Think about just people in general. People do not self-assess. They will point a finger. They'll almost tell you everything you do wrong. And they'll never just turn back in and try to figure out how they can solve the problem.
Yeah.
So my main thing, and the main thing that I've been worried about lately, is trying to be so attached to my purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to decide, and a good question for me to you would be like, when do you think or do you still know what your purpose is? Did you learn that purpose when you were young? Is that something that's always been there?
Kind of like I talked about last episode, where I always felt my purpose was to be a leader. I don't know in what form or fashion,
What
but
age
I was
is that?
going to be a leader. I was in middle school, so I was at I was at Gates Elementary. So that was, and her name was Miss Smith. It's crazy how you really remember stuff like that. But I think I was in elementary. I forget what elementary grades are. But before I went to middle school, my elementary teacher told me that in front of my mom. And I just, you know, of course I don't know my purpose when I'm in elementary, but I feel like, and no offense to any religions or anything like that, but I am a Christian. So I believe that when God has a way for you and things come easier than difficult, that is your purpose. I feel like when I was in college and I ran for SGA president, bro, I was trying to play basketball my last year because my freshman year I got kicked off the team. We'll dive into that in further episodes. But my senior year, I was fighting hard to try and play basketball my senior year.
I remember.
Bro, God kept saying, no. And everybody that know that story, bro, Anthony, my homeboys, bro, definitely wrote letters, had people, all that stuff. The moment I talked to my mentor is like Dr. Roger Smothers, now is the president of Philander Smith College in Little Rock, Arkansas, told me, hey, Calvin, you're a leader. You need to get more involved in school. There's more ways to get money than dribbling a basketball. You need to run for student government. And even though he may have had his intent, bro, I run for vice president. Bro, I won. I stepped right into it.
Oh, because that's how you get in.
And I feel like because that came so easy, that's like God telling you, like, this is what you should have been doing all along.
And I will say, from the outside in, and me and Cal will dive deeper into we're brothers.
Yeah.
And that's the best part about this relationship. But I had to leave. I left sophomore year in college. And again, we will have a whole college excerpt for y'all. But I will say, Calvin was focused on basketball.
Yeah, facts.
Like, for real. If it wasn't when we were young, it was the women, it was the cars. You know what I mean? But his true focus, was basketball.
Yeah.
And as your best friend, I never really saw you really attach yourself to anything else other than that. So when you did run for SGA president and win, and the amount of
opportunities and
glow that I saw in you from that, and the way that he took it was almost phenomenal.
And as far as a gym, though, that's what I'm talking about in terms of my finding purpose. Like, bro, I started getting opportunities. I'm writing my resume with the mayor of Austin. I'm meeting the owners of Sterling Acura. Like, bro, like, so many doors are opening. So to anybody out there, if you've kept running into the same wall when you're doing something, either in your childhood or even now, like when you keep running into the same door that's just saying no, bro, I promise you turn that right and you get into something else and that thing just say yes and the door opens, bro.
Just listen.
You need to listen, bro. Do not be disobedient. You know, be obedient to whoever is your higher power, bro. Definitely be obedient. You know, listen, take a hold to all the details of those opportunities, because I'm telling you, bro, when it's easy and you feel good about it, bro, it comes so easy, bro. So easy, bro. I've met wonderful people every time I've developed opportunity and leadership. You know what I'm saying? Every time I develop or call myself being a leader or doing stuff, bro, that allows me to express my thoughts and my aspirations on the world itself, bro, it's always been easy. What if have you had anything that's made you practice or made you feel like you found your purpose?
The funny thing about me is and I think that may be because I've always had males in my life, but I have like a little 3-stage thing, and obviously this is my older or my year-to-date definition. I think as we grow our purpose and the way we explain it gets better. Yeah. But the funny thing about me is I really genuinely think I was put here to lead, teach, and develop. And to really go off into those three, they kind of break down the phases of my life. Because coming up, you know me, bro. I played golf. Yeah. I've always had what I needed. I wouldn't say we were like super affluent or, you know what I mean? I didn't get all of the shoes. I told you I came from a house full to being the only child. And when it was the only child, it was just me and Pop. So that was getting it out of the mud. But when I was coming up in California, man, I always did what I wanted. Yeah. I played golf. I was 9 times out of 10 the only one there. Yeah. I've always read. You can talk to my parents today. They will tell you I always used to read. Mm-hmm. And that was really out of the ordinary. It wasn't really many kids reading. Yeah. I was in my front yard chipping, playing golf. Yeah, I still hooped and I ran track, but golf really, resonated with me. And that kind of gave me the vehicle to lead. Because when there's nobody else doing it, man, and you really have no one to attach yourself to, you have to learn everything on your own. Yeah. So, taking that into college and then realizing through life's travesties that, I'm not going to go professional in golf, that I'm actually going to start teaching and being a golf coach and giving back to the community showed me that, wow, there's really value in giving back. Like, there's really value in, like, what we're doing right now. Like, even if one person takes this game and uses it, we win it. Yeah, because what I'm doing is, the Bible says what? To be fruitful. So at least I'm growing somebody today, and I end that with the development. Yeah. Because for me, I don't care where I am. Again, back to my childhood, I've always made the environment that I was in better. Whether that would be cleanliness, does it look better? Whether that be now we're adults, me and Calvin are able to run businesses together, and I have a component into that business, which is making that business better. So for me, it was lead, learn, and teach. Yeah. and develop.
Man, I have a question that I just developed that I need you to answer and why.
What's good?
So what would you, as far as gyms, right, free game, what would you teach the younger you? Like,
oh
if you,
my God,
and why? So give me one. If Lil LeBron was sitting in front of you right now, middle school, high school, what are you telling him right now in terms of what you've learned through your tenure of life?
10 times harder. Like, when you're a child, you want to be engulfed in that childhood and just be, just out in the abyss and chilling, and everything should just be new to you. But what I'm learning is the people that really win are the people that get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And the truth is, if you look at all of the successful, some of your actors, some of your athletes, they were iron was sharpening iron. Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was coming up in situations where he had no choice but to give basketball his life. That was his outlet. Now you can see why he's on the... So for me, like, I would have just went harder. Because had I really been reading more, like, I could have read some of the books I'm reading now I guess who's to put that on me?
Yeah.
I could have been golfing 4 or 5 hours when I was, 10 or 11. I could have been I was in production studios when I was young, but I'm sitting there looking at Candy, you know what I'm saying, at all the wrong reasons. I would just say, man, focus. Yeah. And if your parents are focused, and no diss, because my parents they making it happen. But parents really got to get their kids to focus at a younger age. Yeah. And I need people to reassess, their focus. When did they really get their lives focused? Because who's to say if you get your Bentley or your Beamer or your Mercedes, you get it at 30 or you get it at 15 or 20. It's really up to you when you get your bag.
Hey, bro, it's bad. And before I answer my own question, I was just listening to E.T., bro. This man said something new, and I ain't never heard it until today. This man said, it takes 21 years to become 21 years old. I said, bro,
you can't rush the time.
He said, bro, you can't turn 21 at 19. You can't turn 21 at 18, right? It's a process. It's you get something at the age of 19 that you were supposed to get at 21, you don't know how to handle it, right? If we allowed you to drink at the age of 19 or 18 when you only supposed to be waiting until you're 21, you don't know how to handle that, right? Like, you don't know how to assess the alcohol or whatever other opportunities that open up for you when you're 21. But, bro, I'm telling you, I'm repeating that line everywhere I go, bro. So much into that little statement. But for me, if I was looking at younger Cal, bro, and I was like, something that I could tell him, and maybe y'all need to do this practice as well, like, as far as where you are in life right now, ask yourself, what would you have told younger you? So if you have kids, I have a child. I know LaRon doesn't have a child, but I have a child. So I gotta learn what to how to teach and develop my
environment
child.
To put him in.
I would literally tell Calvin, bro. I would say, take an opportunity to have really gotten to I wish I would have had a conversation with my dad at a sooner age, because what I've noticed is, my mentor, David Godsey, which owns the biggest black-owned law firm in the state of Texas.
Shout out to him.
IJustGotHit.com.
Yes, sir.
Bro, such an instrument in my life, bro. And if I would have had that same father figure, not saying that my dad and David are similar, because they aren't, but just having that father figure piece to kind of like mold some of the things that was already in me, bro, I like you, I feel like I would have been 10 times ahead of the game, because the same ambitions that I have now have been developed through me having mentors. So even when I was in college, I was trying to pledge. It wasn't because because I wanted to get girls or I wanted to wear letters. It was solely because I didn't have a stable man in my life that I could go to, talk to, speak to. I had uncles and stuff.
I think that's really crazy that I'm learning more about you, like, over this camera. I mean, we've been best friends almost a decade plus now, and I don't think I've ever really heard you touch on, like, the emptiness from not having your father.
I think that's
because your mom is strong. She does her job, but we probably gonna need to have a whole show.
Bro, just like Will Smith or Jada Pinkett said in the table talk with T.I., like, she tells Will all the time, like, look, I can't I can't teach Jaden how to be a man, right? I can only teach him so much. And I feel like my mom did an extraordinary job on developing me and certain characteristics that I developed, but I was missing a void of not having my father. So therefore, or not saying that I didn't have my father, because he would come but it wasn't enough. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if I would have sprinkled a conversation in there sooner, where we could have talked, I could have found out whatever, I think that he could have still had some little molding in me, like, Calvin, do this, don't do this, whoop-de-whoop. Even though he doesn't have, and maybe he does, but in terms of the success ballad of David and my father, bro, even the gems that my dad would have told me probably would have separated me from where I am today. So I would have just said, Cal, like, take more interest in trying to, listen more to your dad and try to talk to him more and try to have those things. So to you guys, if any younger people or even older people, bro, like, definitely filter those relationships that you haven't filtered out through this time, right? Because you could be missing a big piece
and you don't want
of yourself, bro. You do not understand how deep your blood is.
And some people too stubborn to admit the things that they need to unlearn. Some of the habits that are deeply rooted.
They're deeply rooted in that blood that's in your body, bro. Like, you come to find out your uncle's uncle was, such and such. So, that's what I would have told younger me for sure.
And I think that's because I came up with my father. Mm-hmm. And that's funny because we'll literally be able to have, because my dad was always there. Yeah. My dad was at the games. He didn't go to all of my golf course games, but he was there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You saw my pops. And everybody that knows me usually likes my dad better than me, which is hilarious. But the funny thing is one, let me just be honest with you. I'm blessed that you got a person like David Godsey to be, and I will say that about Cal. Cal never even allowed a father figure to really, other than like Coach Mike and some of the coaches that came in our life. I never really saw you around a man and allowed them that space to change you. But David Godsey was perfect.
Yeah, facts.
And I think that's why you're extraordinary. And I think that's why me and Cal really appreciate the show and why we do and bring this type of stuff to you, because me and Calvin don't talk about anything other than reaching our full potential.
Yeah, facts.
Again, this goal for y'all is to self-assess. Mm-hmm. Go back to your childhood, the first pillar on the board, and figure out some of the things that make you exceptionally you, but then realize some of the things that are holding you back.
And it's funny that you say that, because like I said, again, us speaking about childhood is defining, actually going back in the time and seeing what could have been done better. Or what could have changed, because you still have that time to change. You know what I'm saying? You still have that time to do what you need to do, but you need to definitely go back and do some research. Do your ancestry.com about your childhood and kind of filter those kinks out. But I'm definitely, like I said, in terms of reversing what we talking about, them gems, bro. Them gems are sometimes deeper in the dirt, bro.
Leading me right into, look, we're going to have a couple little fun things for you guys, but this show's is Book of the Month.
Yeah.
And right here, guys, for me, this week, this month, I got one of my reads that I'm currently in. I'm about 75% done. It's called The Way of the Superior Man by David D. Yo. So speaking back on purpose and upbringing and childhood, so I came up with my dad. And now ladies got their ears open. But a lot of the ways I treat women and I handle women are based on my dad. And I'll never disrespect my dad over camera. I just don't believe in disrespect. But I got a lot of ways from my dad that I think that I should just, assess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I moved in with my dad when my parents split up. I moved from California to Texas into a home where, I don't know, sometimes when you got 3 siblings around, you got a full family, it's easier to deal with, you know what I mean, money not there, or y'all are chilling. Yeah. But when you with just your dad, it's a little different. But this book right here talks about being the superior man in your relationships, dealing with women, and how you just need to learn how to hone your purpose and your masculinity. And whether you had a dad or not, you can still grow into these things. So I suggest some of you guys go pick this up. I suggest you read it. You hit us up. Let us know what you take away from this. But I know this book kind of fills some of the voids I think my childhood, could have.
Facts. And for me, I don't have my book here right now, but what I'm currently reading is Jay-Z Made in America author is Michael Eric Dyson. For me, I'm reading that on my entrepreneurial spirit. So, you know, definitely learning more about Jay-Z, the perspective on what people think about Jay-Z, where he's come from, and basically playing chess, not checkers. Like literally, from what I've read thus far, he used there's two types of hustle. There's black hustle and there's bright hustle. You know, black hustle is doing what you got to do in order to get where you need to get, and then, you know, not being able to reach back and going into your bright hustle, which is being able to play the game smarter. Bright hustling is getting where you need to go because you've developed whatever you've developed and not doing it the right way and not being, you know, looked down upon because you went and got a 9 to 5 and you making good money, right? Black hustle is where you actually just get it out the mud and you don't know how to actually get out of that. And you just keep going in a revolving circle, and it just talks about him developing a lot of his traits at a younger age and developing more going forward in his life. So, but yeah, man, that's my book. You know, I would say go pick it up, especially if you're an entrepreneur. If you are a fan of Jay-Z, I would definitely go pick it up. And shout out to Michael Eric Dyson too, because he actually mentioned me in the story.
Oh, word.
Bro, I posted that, man. I said, bro, I'm reading the book or whatever. He ends up shot. I said, man, okay.
Bro, real talk. Yeah. Shout out to any and everybody out there. Read it. Yeah, like, thanks. Real talk. Like, I'm just blessed to be able to be around somebody who also values that. Yeah. So in closing, in recap, like, read. If y'all not reading, please, like hear it in my tone. We need y'all to step your game up. Have a little bit of higher level accountability for yourself and the people around you, and pick up a book and read, man. And recap what we want to end them with, man.
So my recap would just be, you know, a lot of what you do when you're young could either define you or it could change you. But you have the choice to either make that a good decision or a bad decision. Don't let it, you know, don't let it kill you. Let it grow you. So whatever you've done at a young age, don't let it define who you are as an adult. You know, pick and choose. You know, if I'm either gonna go right, I'm gonna go right. Don't go left. You know what I'm saying? So that's my recap for the day.
And mine would be, guys, just know the facts. You know, go back and understand, self-assess, and dive in. Don't be afraid to dive into, you know, why you are the way you are and why and what you got to do to become the best you. We making it easy, man. It's Free Game 2020. It's all about self-accountability, taking your people with you, staying at the highest level of your game, and being the best you attached to your purpose. So, episode 2, man, we pumped up. It's early morning. They ain't even started yet. Anything coming up before we get about this joint?
Man, Santana's very own, man. Just who can't count.
Original Productions, man. Y'all keep y'all ears to the street and your eyes on the prize. We gonna see y'all next.
Keep the James.
Respectfully, my sister, James is the slave name forced upon my ancestors, while Wesley, that's some name my assimilationist parents came up with. But today, in honor of all my brothers and sisters who died in the struggle, I wish to be called by my true name, Amal Unjomo Jameyel, which means he who is spirited.
And long-winded.
Yeah, simple present would have done it, bro.
And who are you?
Frank K.
Hey! Ho! Hey! Ho!
Check it out. Hello there, miss, and let me kick an introduction. Flute, violin, bass guitar, and then percussion. It seems you are a sister.
Stop. Can't you come up with your own thing? Or must you continually come behind my people and steal our expressions? First jazz, then rock and roll, now rap. What you gonna try to take next, man?
I'm gonna take your girl if you ain't careful.
Keep talking there, boy.
Excuse me. Let's leave this display of manhood outside, shall we? Thank you so much.
Yo, could we hurry this up? Some of us got things to do.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? Goodness.
Are you Rita Watson?
Yeah, that's me. Maybe I should explain something to you, sister. See, this is what we call a bird course. Now, the reason we call it a bird course is because we, fly right through it. See, all you gotta do to pass in this class is show up.
So you come to class, you do nothing, and you pass.
Oh, no, we don't exactly do nothing. We have a good time, too. Yo, Frankie.
What's up?